I still have the same feelings about men. I love her, and I'm grateful that we're married. And we eventually ended up with 5 children, including my son Brent, that many of you know, and that's here today. And I'm grateful with all my heart for my children. I can't imagine my life without them and my 10 grandchildren. So that's a part of all of this story that means a great deal to me. But I struggled with this whole thing in a 30-year marriage. I told other friends that it was always like a cloud in the marriage. At times it was a big cloud and caused me, more than her I think, it certainly caused me a lot of anguish and pain and confusion. And then at times it was a little cloud, and it was not a big issue, but it was always there. Anyway, to make a long story short, I graduated from BYU, went to the University of Utah, got a master's degree in social work, worked a year in primary hospital, and then on to Granite School District, where I worked for 21 years as a school social worker and 11 years as an elementary school principal. And all of that 33-year career, I was frightened that somehow somebody would figure me out. And in those days, when Richard and I got together 15, 16 years ago, we asked an attorney in a meeting similar to this, could we, he was a teacher, I was a principal, could we be fired in the state of Utah because we were homosexual and gay or gay? And he said yes. So, needless to say, when we moved in together, we had to be very, very, very cautious. And I got so paranoid that the first time I went to the Gay Pride Parade, what, Dick, about 12 years ago, I suppose, I was so frightened to even stand on the sidewalk and watch the parade go by, because I was afraid some news group would come along with a camera and take a picture of me, and I'd be called in to the superintendent's office. Now that's nuts, but that's the level of fear and concern I had about what this was all going to mean. Some of that has changed, fortunately, in the ensuing years. But folks, there are kids out there that are hurting, and we don't know it, and they don't know how to let us know. But when someone comes to you, and a mother asked me yesterday, what could I and should I do if one of my children came to me, say when he or she was 16, 17, and said, Mom, I think I'm gay. I think I'm a lesbian. And the first thing that came to mind was love them. Know that they did not choose to be homosexual. They cannot change being homosexual. They can make decisions about how that plays out in their lives, of course, but they can't change their sexual orientation. One of the unfortunate things that the Mormon Church perpetuates, and then I'll close, is the idea that being gay, or what they call same-sex attraction, is not something you are, it's something that you do. And if you quit doing it, then you aren't. And that means you can make a change. And some of you have heard of Evergreen, which is an organization that makes a huge attempt to do that. 3 weeks ago, we had a potluck dinner at our home for gay and lesbian friends. We meet once a month around the valley. And they came to our home, and after we'd eaten and had a chance to kind of settle down, we had a discussion. And there were some things that I was just absolutely appalled when I heard these people talk. 2 of them had been a part of this evergreen endeavor. It cost them a great deal of money. One fellow flew from St. Joe, Missouri, every week to attend one of these meetings in Salt Lake, because they didn't have that in the central states, where incidentally I served my mission, and began to get my major doubts about Mormonism. But he came every week for years. Then he realized that it was a great place to cruise, but it was not a very good place to change. And he had children too. He eventually divorced, as I did, 30 years after marriage. It was very hard on my children. It was very hard for Margaret, my ex-wife. It was a very, very tough time in our lives. But we weathered it. We've gotten through it because of love. And this fellow mentioned that, and I'd never heard this before, that he was told that if he was to ever want to return to the church, of course he had to pay his back tithing, he also had to be rebaptized, of course, and this is the part that really pissed me off, he had to marry a woman again. And then that led to others saying, they're still telling young missionaries that come home and go in and confess, Bishop, I completed my mission, but I think I'm gay, I don't know what to do about it. They're still telling many of these young men, get married, have children, live a righteous life, all of that. And one of the reasons I was so angry is that 10 years ago, in a meeting a little larger than this, one of the general authorities of the church denied that. We asked him specifically, are you still telling young men to do this? And he said no. Well, we heard about lying today. The other thing that about drove me wild is that as we were talking, Brent came to the potluck with us because he loves the company of our friends. And he said, Dad, I don't think you know this, but when I went on my mission, I was told, when they talk about their worthiness and family and all, that if I would be a very faithful, good, obedient, righteous missionary, his father, me, would be changed into a straight man and rejoin the church. I sort of went ballistic because I never had heard that they would put that on a young man, that kind of, in a sense, burden, that what he did would have anything to do with me and with Richard. Now, that's not criminal. I don't really know what is. Criminal in the sense it destroys people and lives. I don't know if there's any law against it. Nobody's going to press charges. But it's wrong. And Brent told me this 3 weeks ago. So this is what we're up against, folks. There's a great deal of ignorance. There's a great deal of prejudice. It's a hot button issue, as we well know. All you need to do is read the paper and look at the television, see what's going on in California. And incidentally, it is a toss-up. We've contributed to what little we can. We're both retired, but we've contributed to helping out the folks that are fighting this. The Mormon Church has invested, I don't know if it's invested, but they've given millions